Welcome back, everyone. This is the last episode in the Metabolism series. And today we're talking about the blood sugar roller coaster that keeps you exhausted and stuck. It is so frustrating, and people do not even know it happens. This is why you crash potentially every afternoon while you're awake at 2 in the morning, and your energy and weight just feel out of control. So if you're exhausted by 2 p.m., if you crave sugar at night, if you wake up at 2 to 3 a.m., cannot get back to sleep, or you feel like your energy is just all over the place, there's a very good chance that blood sugar instability is playing a role in your life. Even if you've not been diagnosed with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes or even type 1 diabetes, this is something that can be a factor. And this doesn't just affect your energy, it actually affects your cravings and your hormones, the inflammation that you feel. It absolutely affects your sleep and the fat storage. Let's take a look about what blood sugar swings may feel like. First of all, you might have symptoms like morning shakiness, or to be honest, you could feel shaky pretty much any time of the day where you have a blood sugar drop. You can get that afternoon crash. This is so common between 2 and 3 p.m. And oftentimes it's because of what we've eaten earlier in the day. And if it doesn't balance your blood sugar, you're going to crash in the afternoon. Ever felt hangry, so hungry that you're angry, really irritable? This is a sign your blood sugar is imbalanced. Headaches, cravings, that nighttime hunger, and brain fog, something women discuss all the time. This is a problem often when there is blood sugar swings. Cravings are often a blood sugar message, but willpower is not necessarily the issue. Everybody gets mad at themselves and beats themselves up because they can't control their cravings. But the problem is that this is actually a physiological response to blood sugar instability, and we need to get this back in check. We have this whole thing with a spike and a crash, and it cycles on and on. I remember days where that happened to me probably 5 times a day, maybe even more, because I was not eating properly and sometimes not even eating at all. When you start your day with coffee alone, or you have kind of that standard American breakfast, like a muffin and cereal, something mostly carbohydrate based without any protein, your blood sugar will quickly rise and your body will release that insulin, and then that causes a blood sugar drop. And for some people, it's pretty extreme, and that can create fatigue, hunger, and cravings. This is a vicious cycle. We have a spike, an insulin surge, a crash, cravings, and repeat. It just keeps going and going, and people don't know when to jump off the hamster wheel and deal with our blood sugar with regard to the nutrition we're taking in. This will slow your metabolism down. Repeated spikes will contribute to increasingly higher insulin levels, which directly cause more and more fat storage, or for fat storage just be very easy to do. This then creates inflammation. You probably have more hunger. You probably have more increase in cortisol, the stress hormone, and that becomes a vicious cycle. And you're not getting into those fat stores. And this is in part why you are struggling to lose that weight. Insulin resistance often begins as an energy problem before it becomes a diagnosis. This can be happening years before anything is ever diagnosed. I see this on blood work so much of the time, where some of these markers can be off, but it's never really addressed because they're in the normal range. We need to look at it a little bit different. So now, how do hormones and blood sugar work together? And this ties into perimenopause and thyroid issues, because blood sugar instability makes all of those things worse because of cortisol levels. We have estrogen symptoms with hot flashes and things like that, poor sleep, more anxiety. Thyroid conversion problems will show up where you're not converting that inactive T4 hormone into the active T3 hormone. And then often we just get put on Synthroid or T4 only medication that even worsens that conversion problem, because we can't convert it sometimes because of the stress that's going on in our bodies. And then that affects our sleep. If we're not sleeping, resting, recovering, and restoring our bodies, we are not going to be able to get into the fat stores and have a good working metabolism. Here's how you fix it. I know it seems so easy peasy and you've been dealing with this for a long time, but often when I'm working with people one on one, we will see this and they can make these small changes week by week and they start to notice symptoms subsiding right away. This should be your anchor. This is your anchor. You need to start having protein for breakfast, as well as other micronutrient dense foods, real whole foods as much as possible. So that could look like eggs and turkey sausage or chicken sausage or whatever type of sausage that you like. Cleaner, the better. The more whole food or organic versions of these things you can get, the better. You could add Greek yogurt with berries and chias. You get the micronutrients from the berries. You get the omegas from the chia and the fiber. You can make a protein shake with a good quality protein, though. Please do not buy stuff randomly at the big box stores at the ends of end caps that are on sale and all that kind of stuff. Those are usually pretty inflammatory, so be mindful of that. Shoot for 30 grams of protein for breakfast. This is a general recommendation. If you have lots of muscle or if you're already kind of at your ideal lean body weight, maybe you want to shoot for more, but just maybe start with 30 if you're not really getting protein in the right now or not getting enough. 1 egg or 2 eggs, people, is not enough. I say that because I hear people say, I get protein, I have 2 eggs every morning, and that's about 12 grams of protein. Okay, you need to get more of that. That balanced protein intake will help balance that blood sugar. But more importantly is when you compose your meals, you want to make sure that they include both proteins as well as fat and fiber. The fat is going to look like the fat that you cook with or the fat that's in the protein that you're consuming. And then the carbohydrates are going to be either starchy carbohydrates or I call them salad vegetables or fruits, like the low glycemic fruits like berries. Those carbohydrates are going to be a nice balance to the fat in the protein. You may need to modify the amount of carbohydrates you eat depending on how well your blood sugar is controlled. That looks a little bit differently for everybody, but don't be afraid of whole food carbohydrates if you're eating them in a normal, moderate way, not in, again, the standard American way, which is usually giant servings that our bodies just don't even know what to do with anymore. Another example could be like chicken, rice, and vegetables, salmon, potatoes, and a salad, cottage cheese mold with fruit and seed. Those are good examples of proteins, fats, and fibers all in one meal. Make them balanced every time you eat. The rule of thumb that I like to tell people is to not eat any naked carbs. Don't eat any carbs only by itself. Don't ever have just potatoes. Don't ever have just fruit. Eat something with it with regard to protein and or fat. This is a hard one for a lot of people, especially with the intermittent fasting craze. I love intermittent fasting. I think it is a good tool to use, but not if you have metabolic issues. You need to moderate how much you're intermittent fasting, and you might not need to do it every single day. You might need to do it maybe once a week or twice a week, something like that. But it's better to stop skipping meals if you want to reset your metabolism. That's meal skipping, if you have imbalanced blood sugar, will lead to cravings, and it will lead to cravings at the worst time of day. It'll lead to cravings at nighttime. And we are less sensitive to insulin at nighttime, even when we are our healthiest. That's how our bodies were designed. Make sure that you are providing your body fuel for the day, maybe breakfast, lunch, and dinner more during the daylight hours. Try not to eat after dinner time. Walk after meals. This is kind of a simple tip tool that you can use to help balance your blood sugar, especially after your latest meal. So if you eat dinner at 5 p.m., 6 p.m., wash the dishes, put everything away, whatever you do, go out for a 10-minute walk. Do some kind of movement to help your body absorb any of the glucose from the foods that you ate. That will help with your insulin sensitivity. That is a super easy way to start balancing your blood sugar. Now, the bottom line is that if you feel exhausted and inflamed or stuck with your metabolism, I'd say start with your blood sugar. Out of all the things we've talked about, it's very easy to start doing little things like eating the protein in the morning, taking a walk after a meal, and balancing out the types of meals that you're eating. Because if you stabilize your blood sugar, you're going to stabilize your energy, which is kind of the foundation for everything else. This has been a 5-part series. It's all about the hidden reasons your metabolism slows down, and it's not about eating less. It's not about trying harder, like working out harder. It's about understanding what your body actually needs. If you think that this makes sense for you, if you are feeling like you still have questions, yet all of this kind of applies to you, I want you to reach out to me. You could fill out the form. We can see how you could best be supported. All of this is covered in all of the programs and one-on-one services that I have. I'd love to see you there and to help you out. Go ahead and fill out that form and we'll get you started and talk about how we can best help you out. Have a great day.